are so happy that we have met Gary Hearn. He has been such a great influence to us and a great help in our lives, and we are so thankful for him.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very much.
You always look out for us.
Miss,
Thank you.
how long had you met Gary?
Yes.
Maybe a year and a half.
A year and a half.
Yes.
Okay. What seminar did you attend?
We didn't attend the sermon.
I did.
My wife went to.
Oh, your wife.
Yeah.
She went to a seminar and she came back so ecstatic that she met this company.
Medicare. It was a Medicare seminar.
Oh, America.
And I really needed that information. And that's how we met.
It was truly a blessing.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Same to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. We are here with Mr. and Mrs. Henatichak. And please, can you tell me a little bit about your story with Dora Noya, Gary, and David? Maria?
I know Gary and David for 6 years ago, and and I still was friends because he helped me something for my insurance, and I still was friends together, and also was brother for Jesus Christ, and was like family, and I'm so happy, and thanks for God and thanks for both of us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Jesus.
much.
Thank you.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas for everybody, and I bless every family, and I ask for God blessing for
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you very
Dziękuję
much.
bardzo. I'm James Carter, and met Gary probably about eight years or so ago. And he initially, we were needing somebody with their financial advice, and then in 2021, he was a big help for me whenever I retired and helping set up my retirement plans and everything. So we've been very, very happy with the whole time.
And my name is Jean Marie Carter, and I met Gary at a seminar for retirement planning. And Gary also helped me when my father passed away. I had inherited some IRAs, and I needed to roll them over along with my 401ks. So I was able to transfer everything over with the help of Gary in order to make the best intelligent decisions in my retirement savings. And I have recommended Gary to other people. He did help my brother that lived in Texas in regards to making a change in his plan because it wasn't really benefiting him in the way his medical was. So I feel that the group has really been outstanding. I'm totally pleased with the functions that have taken place in our benefits and our retirement.
Y'all make us feel like family.
At home, yeah. And we hope that we can maybe outlive our benefits so that our children will get a little bit, but it's been a wonderful, wonderful process. I would definitely recommend them because I feel that they take into effect the whole entire concept of your family, your financial status, and also your projections for the future. And I really feel that that has been one of the things that has helped us and would definitely help anyone else that needed a little assistance and guidance.
Yeah, and they care about everybody in general, just like we're family. And they always make sure everybody's doing good. And even with birthdays, they always they always check in with you, which we appreciate that quite a bit.
And we get to share family photos of our grandchildren that Gary loves to see, the baseball, the softball, basketball, dance.
Wow.
And monster trucks.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Durham. Welcome to our mastermind class this evening. The title of tonight's program is, Can I Afford to Retire Now? That's a big question, and it's asked more and more every day, especially in these times in which we live. And so I encourage you to stay tuned this evening because, one, I'm going to show you how to unlock the full potential of your Social Security. And then if you'd like to know how to retire worry-free, we're going to delve into that subject as well. So let's get excited. If you're excited, let's clap our hands and get started and keep this into a 45-minute program. I'd like to introduce our Director of Marketing, who's with us today, Kenya Garcia. As we go through the program, we're going to have time for questions and answers. You can post those questions confidentially. I'll read them at the bottom of the screen and in turn answer them. So I won't use your name, but we will answer those questions. You're going to have several opportunities to post these questions so that this program allows you to get the most out of your attendance this evening. Again, it's a very big question, and people ask it all the time. Can I afford to retire? And of course, the second part of that question is, when can I afford to retire? We're going to answer that this evening and show you how to get answers for yourselves in your own personal situation. You see, we have these classes every week. I encourage you to hit subscribe and stay tuned in because we primarily address people in what we call the red zone. What's the red zone? It means you're close to retiring or you have recently retired. Let's put 5 years before and 5 years after. There's no hard rule. But in all the advice that we give, it comes from our knowledge and our experience of over 42 years specializing in retirement planning. And then my own experience beyond that, I've been a financial advisor 50 years. We have a lot of exit plans, early outs being presented to from corporations to employees and federal employees. We have a whole department for federal employee exit planning. So stay tuned. You're going to be glad you did. And we're going to keep this program relevant and right on time. You see, when you answer the question, can I afford to retire? You really need an exit plan. We're going to show you how to have an exit plan in the greatest of ease, convenience, confidentiality, and without cost or compromise or pressure. So stay tuned. The first part of an overall exit plan is what you need to know about Social Security. Keep in mind something. For Middle America, and most retirees are Middle Americans in one level or another, the biggest part of their overall retirement planning, or a big part, is Social Security. In fact, statistically, it's about 40% of their retirement budget need. So it's important, isn't it, to make sure you're getting all you can get from all that you've contributed and what you are entitled to. And I'm going to say, by way of introduction, as far as those that you would hope and expect to give that information, it doesn't happen. So it's no mistake that of all the courses we've taught over the decades, the number one subject is Social Security. And you're not going to be surprised when we go through the program and particularly talk about Social Security. There are some very key parts that you should know in the world of Social Security, and we're going to talk about that. Very important, because every bit of timing, strategy, and taxation is based on the amount that you received at your first earliest retirement age, which is 62 for a standard retirement benefit. Then you have what's called full retirement age. That's typically age 66 to 67, depending on your year of birth. And then there's age 70. Why 70? At 70, you have no more reason to wait to take Social Security. So everybody, if they haven't taken Social Security before, should take their Social Security benefits at 70. 62 is the earliest age, Unless you are a widow or widower, then it's 60. And then, of course, if you're disabled and you have qualified for a Social Security disability income benefit, you can qualify as early as age 50. And then children also have areas of qualification for disability. But here's what's so very important. Here's what Social Security can and cannot tell you. Boy, that's very disappointing, because you need information to determine when's my best timing, what's my lowest taxation, what strategies are available to me. And folks, that information is not available to you at the hand of a Social Security employee. They're advised to give you as little information as possible. And the main information that Social Security offers you, whether by phone call, mail, or going online to ssa.gov, is the amount you would receive at these ages. And that is it. And then, of course, there's this matter of Social Security and taxation. Because if you take Social Security too soon with too much earned income, you could see it reduced to zero for a period of a few years. I don't think you want to see that happening, but you certainly do not want to be subject to what you cannot receive in the way of information. And furthermore, I like the profession of financial services. I have degrees, master's in taxation, master's in financial services. I respect credibility. I respect credentials. So I'm not against lawyers, Social Security employees, CPAs, accountants. But I can tell you this, in my 50 years experience, most CPAs fall short of giving you the best strategy for Social Security. They're not trained. And even in the world of taxation of Social Security. Remember, Social Security employees are very limited in what they can provide to you in the way of information or strategy. So financial advisors who are giving people advice every day on retirement planning, so often I see as people come into my offices, they fall short of the information that's very relevant that can add value. And another way to put add value is dollars into your pocket through Social Security benefits, the right strategies, the right timing, the least taxation. Whoa, we've covered some subjects that are very important. So here we are talking about taxes. They're a big challenge. Taxes for Social Security benefits are taxed differently than taxes for other sources of income like pensions, rental, property income, dividends, and withdrawals from investable assets. So tax planning within the world of retirement planning is an integral part, and it starts very majorly with Social Security benefits. When and how you use these different benefits and sources of income can affect taxes in a major way. And I'm going to give you some examples just a moment. So hang in there. We're moving right along, and we're going to help you with some very valuable information in your overall retirement planning. So here's a question that comes up very often, and it deserves a very clear answer. How much can you earn and receive Social Security benefits? Well, some people don't even realize that if you're earning too much and you're taking Social Security soon means between 62 and full retirement age, you could have that benefit for a few years reduced to zero from a tax penalty. Here's a prime example. Look at the bottom of the screen. Here's a person with income of $54,000 a year, earned income, age 64, married. What the other spouse makes in any type of income does not affect this calculation, which can work to your favor. So their earned income is $54,000. They're age 64, and they chose to take Social Security of $15,000 a year. Let's call it $1,200 a month. But they have an earnings limit, if you go back to the middle of the page, of $23,400. That's the 2025 number. For any amount in earned income that exceeds that $23,400, you are subject to a tax penalty by the IRS of 50 cents for every dollar in excess. So remember, our income is 54,000. I'm going to round that 23.4 for ease of math and example to 24,000. Whoa. We have an excess earned income of 30,000. 50 cents for every dollar in excess. That means how much? $15,000 in tax penalty. Well, my goodness, my Social Security benefit was only $15,000. So it's reduced to a real skinny zero net benefit. Now, it steps up in the year before your full retirement age. For me, full retirement age is 66 because of when I was born. For many of you, it's between the ages of 66 and 67, and that is determined by the year in which you were born. So let's say that your full retirement age is 67. 1 year before you reach full retirement age, call it 66 and in between, your amount of earned income is $62,165 a year. Okay? So your earned income to the date you chose to take Social Security is $100,000. Your earned income limit is $62,165. Allow me to round it to $63,000. You have excess earned income of $37,000, and 1/3 of that excess is a tax. Let's call it $12,000. Oh my goodness, my benefit's $15,000. I have this tax. I've reduced my benefits significantly, haven't I? So understanding the impact of taxes in your overall planning is extremely important. Now we're shifting gears. We got off of taxes, and we're talking about who is eligible to receive Social Security benefits. That's a very interesting subject. And by the way, I want to say this again. Most professional advisors and Social Security employees, well, they can't give you the information, and most others do not know. Is there any reason why this class is the most popular? I'm told that we teach more classes on retirement planning and Social Security than anyone in the state of Florida because our firm is dedicated to that. So here's a very common situation. You have a married couple, and one of those spouses came to this country and never really worked. They don't have 40 credits. By the way, it takes 10 years of earnings to earn 40 credits to be eligible for a Social Security benefit. Or maybe they have 40 credits, but their benefit is very low because they were a stay-at-home parent and they made very little income. Well, there's great news. The spouse with the higher amount obviously has 40 credits. And let's just say, for example purposes, that their benefit at full retirement age is $3,000 a month. And the other spouse is younger or could be any age above 62. And so they choose to take a benefit from the spouse with the higher benefit. Uh-oh, is that going to reduce that benefit? Remember, it's $3,000 a month. No, about 40% of that benefit goes to the spouse without 40 credits or with a much lower number. So $3,000 a month to the spouse that's reached full retirement age and above. This person's benefit's either zero, let's call it $500 a month, very low. They're entitled to about 40% of that $3,000. That's $1,200 a month. So we've increased that household income from Social Security alone from $3,000 a month to $4,200 a month. Do the math. That's $14,000 a year. People live 20 years. 14,000 times 20 is $280,000 more income into that household. What a difference. And it's something that the only way you could know about is to read about it or hear about it from folks just like us. Then there's a widow or widower benefit. Okay. Let's use me as an example. I'm a widower. My wife passed away. For a widow benefit, you are eligible to take Social Security as early as age 60, but stay tuned to something very important. Remember, the earnings limit applies to widows and widowers as well. And you're still working. as a survivor, it's very, very important that you consider taxation once again. But in my case, higher earned income, but at my full retirement age of 66, I took the widower benefit, much less than mine, but something happens when you take another benefit, such as a divorcee benefit, a widow benefit, or a spousal benefit. And what is that? Very, very important. I took the widower benefit, much lower than mine, at 66, my full retirement age, while my own personal benefit grew automatically at 8% a year. Okay. And then at 70, when it won't grow anymore, I dropped the widower benefit and took my own. Now there's another part to a widow benefit. One passes away with the higher benefit. In this case, the higher benefit, that spouse passed away. It's $4,000 a month. The surviving spouse automatically steps up to that higher benefit, oftentimes even without an application. Now we have another benefit, and that is a spousal benefit. We call it a spousal top-up. The spousal top-up says one spouse is receiving a benefit at full retirement age and above. Let's call it 66, and it's grown to $3,000 a month. The other spouse's benefit, they worked less or worked at much lower wage, is only what? $800 a month. As long as they're 62 or above, and as long as the spouse with the higher benefit takes their benefit, they can step up to 40 to 50% of the amount that spouse is receiving of the higher amount. $3,000 a month to the higher spouse, $1,300 to $1,500 a month extra for the spouse with the lower benefit. That's called a spousal benefit. Once again, question: does Social Security provide these kinds of strategies and timing? The answer is no. Unmarried children. If one spouse is receiving some type of a Social Security benefit in the household, children younger than 18 are entitled to a benefit that's somewhere between $1,000 and $1,200 a month. It's not cheaper by the dozen. It's typically capped out at about $2,400. But think of this. One spouse is receiving a benefit of $2,500 a month. Two children still at home, another $2,400 a month. Do you see the increase for that period of time? Wow. Now we come to divorcees. Very important. We have many, many, many divorcees. The benefit is similar to the widow scenario. You have to be married 10 years or more, not have remarried within 2 years. There are a few other rules, but you might decide to take a benefit from that ex while yours grows. And here's a question. Do you have to ask that ex for permission to take a benefit that's on the part of theirs, which is higher? No. Why not? Because it doesn't affect their benefit by lessening it in any degree whatsoever. So we have clients, divorcees, who decide to take a divorcee benefit first while their own benefit grows. If it's between 62 and 66, it grows automatically at 6% a year. And then from full retirement age, somewhere between 66 and 67, it's automatically growing at 8% a year. So we have the software to calculate a crossover point. When is it in your best interest to drop the divorcee benefit and take your own because it grew so much? Disabled benefit. Remember, as early as age 50 for adults and for children, could be any age, but it's becoming more and more difficult with rules to qualify and longer time to get qualified for that benefit. Questions and answers. We've talked in a very, very quick and clear overview of Social Security.
There's one question.
Okay, here's a question. Are Social Security benefits taxable, and how can I prepare for that? Yes, remember, they're taxable, but at a lower rate, excepting if you take a benefit early. So you have to be prepared in your other investments and other sources of income to cater for perhaps taking a Social Security benefit too early when it's subject to a penalty. Proper planning with the Social Security timing, strategy, and taxation report that we offer at no charge can help you prepare for when is the best time to take Social Security at the lowest tax. Okay. This is so very, very valuable because remember, you need to tell Social Security what to do and when to do it and be above and beyond what they're not allowed to tell you. A strategy report that we provide, it's a Social Security timing and strategy report with tax calculations, can help you prepare for that. Because I want to say something in the way of closing this Social Security subject. Social Security employees have an administrative guide that says, give as little information as possible. Social Security employees are trained, restricted, and motivated to start your benefits as soon as possible. Why? Because the sooner between 62 and full retirement age, the lower. So they are encouraged to get you to start your benefit as soon as possible so that it is as small as possible. And if you start it early, what is early? Before full retirement age, you could be very well subject to a tax penalty. And so start your benefit as soon as possible so that it is as low as possible and the most likely to be subject to tax penalty. That's their training. So for you, for every person tuning in to this program, you have a personalized report that you can take into Social Security. Now, you say, well, I'm a few years from retiring. If you get it now, we will update it again at no charge when you get prepared to go into Social Security. So you're going to have opportunity at the end of this program to request a Social Security timing and strategy report, which takes a 30-minute talk with us. No cost, no obligation, no solicitation. It's all for attending this class. Okay, we're shifting gears to another part of your retirement planning. You want a worry-free retirement? We're talking to you about how to achieve it. And so a good part of your retirement is what we call the budget gap between what? Your Social Security benefits and when they start, and then other sources of income, and primarily much of that is coming from your investable assets that are there, designed and intended for future retirement income. So that's a very, very important part of your overall retirement planning. So what are we talking about? We offer a second opinion on your portfolio, and it covers a number of areas that I want to go over with you because it's a 4-part portfolio review, and it's very, very important. Remember this, the market is vulnerable. It's subject to ups and downs, isn't it? While you're working and contributing to your retirement plans, you don't feel it as much because in as much as there's a lowering of your value of your investable assets, it's increased over time because you've been working for so long and contributing. But you're facing a whole different change. You're no longer working for income. You're looking for your assets to work for you to produce income. So your financial future in retirement should not be subject to the vulnerability and the ups and downs of the market in total. So the first part of our portfolio review, part 1, is risk suitability. That takes into consideration, what is your risk tolerance, number 1? Number 2, what is your approximate timing for exiting the work world? And with that time horizon in mind, can we absorb stock market losses and bond losses? The stock market averages every 5 years, it goes through a correction, more than just a temporary adjustment. And it takes 2 to 3 years, and in history, sometimes much longer, to see that portfolio recover to the extent that you're relying on those investable assets to make up your budget gap. Can you afford the amount of risk that you're taking? That's risk suitability. And there are three major risks that we identify. One, market risk. Two, interest rate risk on bonds, target funds, and bond funds. And three, longevity risk. What if you live too long and outlive your income? Or maybe you have a long-term illness, extended care that goes beyond what health insurance will cover. We're talking about how do we cater for the storms of life? And is the risk you're taking within your portfolio equipped to weather those storms? The second part of a portfolio review is fees. Well, Arthur Levitt is the former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. He wrote a book, which I have in my office. It's 1 inch thick, and it's all about fees. Fees that are disclosed, fees that are hidden, fees that are in annuities. Because some annuities, as in variable annuities, are full of fees between 2.5 and 4.1% a year. Well, a side note, if you have annuities and you ask for that portfolio review, we will also provide an analysis of your annuities. Are they good, bad, ugly? Are they old? Are they new? Are they full of fees? We'll answer those questions in this portfolio review. Then there's a third part of information in your portfolio review, and that is net performance. So we take out your contributions because that's not a return on investment. That's your own money going into the account. And the netting of fees. What is the true return on investment? And then allocations. I'm going to say something. In my history, I see when people bring in their financial statements for us to review, over 90% of accounts are on autopilot. In other words, they don't change asset classes. They don't change allocations. Oh, it's diversified. Yes. Well, it may be diversified, but is it going to take advantage of market swings? Is it going to protect against the risk we've identified? I think it merits active management without incurring any other additional fees. So we look at allocations. How is the risk in that portfolio balanced with safety? And I'm going to submit to you that oftentimes the way they balance risk with safety is old style, traditional style. It's outdated for what you can do for higher returns and less risk. We call that risk return optimization. And then, of course, tax efficiency. So these four parts make up a portfolio review, which is an integral part of your overall retirement planning. Now we come to another subject related to your portfolio, RMD. What is that? Required minimum distribution. When you reach 73 with retirement accounts, IRAs, 403Bs, 457s, 401Ks, profit sharing plans, at 73 now, it used to be 70 and a half, you're required to take distributions out of that portfolio every year, whether you need the money or want the money. So a question we ask is your portfolio that's subject to required minimum distributions properly allocated to face a lifetime increasing withdrawal? I can show you statistics that prove if the account is merely correlated to the S&P 500 with RMDs that average 4% a year, you could be out of money in 14 to 18 years. Because remember, the law of averages says you have to take that money out of that portfolio, whether it's losing that year or gaining. We'll show you how to achieve the proper balance of risk with safety so that even with RMDs, you're not going to be hit with losses and with your asset value decreasing. And ultimately, oh my, your assets are reduced to zero. That's not necessary. You worked very hard for your money. There are ways to plan within the realm of conservatism, safety, security, and long-term income that can overcome those risks. How exciting. Now, let's go to questions and answers again.
We have another question.
I answered that one.
What is the impact of working while receiving Social Security benefits?
Well, remember, if you take a Social Security benefit early before full retirement age and you're still working and your income exceeds that earnings limit, you're subject to a tax penalty. But let me encourage you, when you're taking Social Security benefits, once you pass full retirement age, you're not subject to any tax penalty. So the tax impact on Social Security in what we call a provisional income tax calculation is very low. The good news about being in retirement is your overall tax bracket will drop typically between 12 and 18% a year. Why? Because you do not have earned income that's taxed so high, and you're not paying taxes on FICA and Social Security taxes. Okay?
Continue.
All right. Retirement roadmap. Or a roadmap to retirement. As a result of having a Social Security timing and strategy report and having a portfolio review, that review, by the way, is going to conclude in saying, here's what you can expect in reliable, sustainable income within a safe realm for your retirement. When we put your Social Security benefits and timing together, along with other sources of income like pensions, dividends, rental income, maybe even some consulting fees, and withdrawals from your investable assets at a targeted retirement date, we can generate what your income would be at that targeted date of retiring. And that is what is incorporated into a roadmap to retirement. You can sit back and have confidence in your financial decisions so that you can sleep at night in your retirement future. What a beautiful consolation that is.
Oh, there's another question over here.
Yes.
You can see it over there. I have savings.
I have savings for retirement. How can I maximize them so that my savings last for many, many more years? Okay. It's very important that we properly balance risk with safety. And within the realm of safety, there are ways to actually achieve a higher return than what you could in traditional bonds and target funds, and avoid being exposed to taking withdrawals to meet your retirement needs from your investable assets at the risk of running out of money or losing money. There's a proper way to balance risk with safety, and we can show you that in the retirement roadmap.
We have another question. What does retirement map include?
The retirement roadmap, by way of review, includes your Social Security timing strategy and tax impact report. It's a 10-page report that you can use for your own planning and you can take to Social Security, number one. Number two, remember we offered a portfolio review. We address the 4 risks inherently in that portfolio and turn it around to say, here's what we recommend you do. And by the way, you can do it elsewhere. You can do nothing, or you can patronize our services. But that portfolio review is a vital part of your retirement roadmap. So the retirement roadmap goes back to the original subject. When can I afford to retire? This is going to cover all the bases to say, here's when you can afford to retire in timing. And secondly, at what level of lifestyle can you retire? The objective, and in 90% of the cases, here's what is true. Between Social Security benefits in that household, other sources of income, and nominal withdrawals from investable assets, people can support their retirement lifestyle. And something else to keep in mind when you talk about retirement budget. How do I know my budget? Take a look at what you're spending now. And secondly, add back in that you probably will no longer have a mortgage, and add back in that you will not be contributing to your retirement accounts. So an apples to apples in 90% of the cases when we provide a retirement roadmap is giving you assurance that with the income sources we've identified, you're going to be able to maintain your retirement lifestyle. Congratulations. And I say that all the time because somehow, some way, in all of your struggles, in all of your working hard for money, as you found ways to save and invest, the end result from everything to your benefit is that all sources of income will enable you to maintain your retirement lifestyle. That's a beautiful sleep at night acknowledgement, isn't it? We're going to pause for just a moment and talk about estate planning, because when we see people in retirement planning, it's a sad statistic that over 90% of Americans do not have an estate plan because their thinking comes from two areas. Number one, I'm married, I pass away, my spouse inherits, my spouse has all the decision making, our assets are joint tenants with rights of survivorship. Folks, you still need a will that says who will have the power, spouse to spouse. Secondly, when both spouses are gone, who will have the power to take responsibility for identifying, collecting those assets and sources of income, selling and distributing? Secondly, to have that power, you have to have a financial power of attorney, sometimes referred to as a durable power of attorney. Thirdly, in Florida, you need a medical power of attorney for all medical decisions. You say, well, I went into the hospital and I didn't have to show that. Yes, but you were conscious. You do not want to be subject to someone else, such as a court, making decisions for medical decisions because you didn't take the time and the effort to incorporate an estate plan. And estate planning should delineate, here's how the assets flow and the decision-making of authority flows spouse to spouse, then from our children and our children's children. In other words, grandchildren. We take all estate planning 3 levels. Those are the necessary basic documents. A trust, a revocable living trust, goes one step further to avoid probate, and that is most likely to take place when both of you passes away. There are other aspects to proper estate planning and asset protection. Our firm specializes in those areas, so that's another part of a complimentary visit if you so choose to request. I want to remind you, you have questions, post them, we'll answer them. We're getting close to a close.
Oh, how can I access my Social Security with statements?
Okay, that's very easy. Social Security has a website called ssa.gov. Now go slowly, because if you go too fast, it'll kick you out for a day. You can set up access to your personal account. It will give you those dollar amounts, especially for full retirement age, 70, and your earliest eligible date to take Social Security benefits of 62. It's very helpful, and you can even call the Social Security number. Depends on where you live in the United States. This telecast goes all over the United States, so you go online, it will give you an 800 number. Remember, they give you limited information, so you're going to want that Social Security timing strategy and tax impact report, aren't you? Okay, so let's review. Let us help you today. We will provide 3 reports in a brief phone or Zoom visit. Social Security timing and strategy with taxation impact report. It's a 10-page report that you can take into Social Security. You can use as an integral part of your overall retirement planning. We've talked about the portfolio review, a different approach to a portfolio that you've been accumulating for years. And then we take those 2 and incorporate them into a roadmap to retirement, which tells you how much will you receive at what retirement year. And what are some precautions? What are some recommended changes? All of your retirement roadmap will include those issues so that you can have confidence in your own decision making and sleep at night in your retirement years. What a beautiful thing. Now, with those three pieces of information, you can answer the question, when can I afford to retire and at what lifestyle level? You can know when to retire. That's what this information is designed to provide for you from a team that specializes in retirement planning. And before you zoom into how to make that visit possible, I would like to close with three things. When people come to see us, we're very kind and caring. We're very knowledgeable. So you're going to come not being solicited. You're going to feel very accepted and very comfortable. You're going to leave with more information than you came to provide, that you expected for us to provide, because we're all about retirement planning. And thirdly, while enjoying the visit and getting this helpful information, there's no pressure, there's no implied obligation, there's no cute, creative way to find a way to charge you a fee. It's complimentary, and there's no solicitation. So tune in to your time to meet with us. At the bottom of the screen, you'll be able to click the link, or you'll see it in an email text that we will send to you for tuning in this evening. You can also call our 800 number, call our office at 888-281-5814. We'll set up a time. We meet with people during the day, some evenings, and some Saturdays. So I find that people can pretty much find that we're available to suit their schedule. We want to make it convenient for you and enjoyable, informative, so that you walk away with what you came for in the first place. We also have a website. You see it on the screen, DurhamLoyal.com. Tune in. You'll see how you can request information for those three different reports.
So there's a question over there.
We have a question.
Do we attend concerts?
We have consultations all over the 50 of the United States. And so you have here, how can I reach you? You can tune into the link. We're going to email and text you. You can call our 800 number, or you can visit our website. We do Zoom, we do phone calls in all 50 states. And actually, hablamos español. Si prefieren que usamos su idioma, si podemos.
Or do you give second opinions on existing estate planning documents?
Yes, we mention estate planning. Some people have documents, they're not sure if they're current or maybe they're outdated. That's not uncommon. We review those again at no cost. And we're very, very familiar with estate planning and asset protection in many of the United States, and certainly including the state of Florida.
There's another question. How can I maximize spousal benefits, and what strategy should I consider?
That's a question to be answered in a strategy session with us,
okay.
Because every person has a different age, a different amount of benefits, a different outlook on life expectancy. So we take all that information, put it in our software, which is the software like Social Security uses. And by the way, speaking of Social Security, to generate that timing and strategy report, we do not need your Social Security numbers. For your financial statements, you're welcome to first talk about them. If you decide jointly that we should see them, you're welcome to blank out your account numbers. We don't need them. We're just here to provide a portfolio review. So those kinds of questions are best answered in a consultation that's typically 30 minutes. And if it goes into all the subjects, it can be an hour, but you're entitled. We're happy to provide it. So take advantage of these three different ways, and I look forward to seeing you. Now, here's another question. What are the pros and cons of various retirement accounts, 401k, IRA? Well, you see, some of these accounts became active while you were employed. Once you leave an employer, you're eligible to move into other types of retirement accounts that are taxed the same way. They're typically called a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. And of course, when you reach 59 and a half, even if you're still working, you have liberties, even if you are a federal employee with the Thrift Savings Plan, 401k, 403b, to move those accounts to what might be to your advantage, as we talked about, balancing risk with safety in an optimized way. Okay, if you have further questions, drop them in the comments and we will answer them live, just like we've done now. We're still tuned in. Thank you for being here.
Oh, yeah. I have another question over here. How can I effectively estimate my retirement expenses?
We mentioned that before. You pretty well know what you spend right now every month. It's going to be very similar when you're retired. But remember, you will no longer be contributing to your retirement accounts. So that's a savings. You're going to be in a lower tax bracket, typically 12 to 18%. That's a savings. And most of you have targeted to pay off debt and mortgages by the time you retire. So when you put that number in there, I've seen people who were earning $120,000 a year now. When they took those factors out and we gave them their retirement income amount, it was $100,000. Oh, David, that's less by $20,000. Wait a minute. We're going to add back in what you were contributing to your retirement accounts. That's $15,000 right there. By the time you retire in 2 years, you will no longer have a mortgage payment. So many times, I said before, in 90% of the cases, your retirement budget is met by what you've saved and accumulated in Social Security benefits and other sources of income. Congratulations. We're going to give you confidence in those conclusions. I promise you. It's a pleasure for you to join us tonight. Stay tuned, by the way, for next week's training. We're covering different subjects every week as it relates to retirement planning, estate planning, and asset protection. Now, I want to remind you, there's a question here. If my spouse passes away, how does that affect my Social Security? Let's use an example. The spouse that passed away was receiving $3,000 a month, including what had been added over the years for cost of living. My personal benefit I was receiving was $1,200 a month. You drop your personal benefit and pick up the larger one of $3,000. You can't take both, but you do get to keep the highest benefit. There's your answer.
What factors can affect the amount that I'm going to receive in the Social Security?
What taxes?
What factors? If I work a little bit more, if I work...
Okay. What factors will affect the amount of Social Security I would receive? That's a very good question. And I'm glad somebody asked that question. Here it is. Your Social Security benefit is a result of about 5 different types of calculations, which I won't go into. But it's a function of when you started working, and then a 30-year average of your income, and how many years you were contributing to Social Security. As a general rule of thumb, your Social Security benefit will not increase by your working and contributing after age 60. So some people say, if I stop working now and I don't take Social Security for 3 years, will the benefit drop? If you've been working for 30 years or more and you've achieved age 60, as a general rule of thumb, your benefit will not drop. Remember this, at age 62, working or not, your benefit's increasing by 6% a year. And then at full retirement age, 66, somewhere between 66 and 67, it's going to increase by 8% a year. So we've identified factors that influence the amount. Remember, if you are a spouse with a much lower income, less than half of the spouse with the higher income, you can have what we call a spousal top-up. All of that is addressed in a Social Security timing and strategy report, as well as your retirement roadmap. Thank you very much.
what if I delay my retirement? How does affect?
Well, delay means you're not taking Social Security. Remember, from 62 and above, your benefits increasing 6% a year between 62 and full retirement age. Let's call full retirement age 67. So it's increased 30% in that 5-year period. You didn't take it. And at 67, you said, I don't need it. I'll let it grow. So it grows 8% a year for those next 3 years between 67 and 70. Wow, that's a major difference from what you would have received at 62. So sometimes it's to your benefit to take what you need to meet your retirement budget from other assets and sources of income while your Social Security grows, because you're creating a lifetime pension for yourselves. Great question.
Yeah. So if somebody else has another question, we're going to hear just a couple of minutes.
Okay, we're going to stay online for another few minutes and see if anybody else posts any other questions. If not, thank you for joining us tonight. Stay tuned for more training every week. We provide it. And let's make sure you retire with the money you work so hard to achieve, with all the benefits and all of the benefits of a proper allocation within your portfolio, because you deserve to love your retirement future as long as you live. Thank you very much, David Durham.
So we're just going to stay a little bit, just 2 minutes more, so if somebody has any questions.
Mm-hmm. In the slide. Where it talks about widower and divorcee, we need to have survivor benefit.
Okay.
Oh, spousal benefit.
Is any possibility to change Social Security rules for this new government? Is anything?
It's very unlikely.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about that next time.
Okay. So thank you very much.
Thank
Anybody
you.
has any question?
Oops. I think we have no further questions. Folks, have a nice evening. Happy Valentine's Day tomorrow, and look forward to hearing from you and meeting you soon. David Durham.
Okay.